Okay. All right. Welcome, everybody. This is a webinar today talking about what we believe is the best investment in aquatic venues. So whether it's a water park or a pool, any kind of aquatic venue, we are going to talk today about the benefits of adding an aluminum retractable roof. We are going to cover the top 4 issues that are faced by water parks and aquatic venues. Those 4 issues are air quality, corrosion, energy savings, and cost. And we're going to talk about how an aluminum retractable roof can eliminate all 4 of these issues. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Nancy Patterson. I am the Design and Business Director, Development Director from OpenAire, and OpenAire has been in business for about 30 years. We have about 1,000 projects around the globe. And joining me today is my special guest, an expert in aquatics, all things aquatics. This is Daryl Matzke.
It's great to be here, Nancy. Of course, I enjoy talking about aquatics, and that it's a great industry to be part of. My name is Daryl Matzke. I'm with Ramaker and Associates. We're an architectural and engineering firm located in Wisconsin, and have had the opportunity for working with aquatic facilities for over 25 years. Thank you.
Awesome. And we actually work together on the project you can see on the screen right now. So first and foremost, air quality. I'm going to let Daryl speak to this, but basically when you open the roof and open the walls, you naturally ventilate your building. So you bring in a very large volume of air, which means you can reduce your reliance on mechanical ventilation. So Daryl, as the expert in all things aquatic and mechanical ventilation and aquatic ventilation, perhaps you can share your thoughts on this.
Yes, I'd love to do so. One of the things that I recognize as a need is working as a team with experts in the industry, whether it's civil engineers, mechanical engineers, like architects. And with today's discussion on air quality, so important the mechanical engineering aspects of operating of an indoor aquatic facility. If the air is bad, guests are not comfortable, the operators are not comfortable. There's damage done to the building, and a way of working around that is natural ventilation, and that's what an operable roof system provides.
Absolutely. And can be applied to really any kind of entertainment facility, right? I mean, we're just talking about bringing in fresh air. It doesn't have to be aquatic, although there's the additional benefit in an aquatic venue of exhausting all the chloramines. The chloramines is that chemical smell in the air. And as somebody who spends a lot of his time going to water parks and any kind of aquatic facility, you know, what have you heard from operators about the issues with chloramines in an aquatic venue?
Well, the first thing is how it turns away the guests. It's when you walk into that venue, you're at the lobby. You're not in the pool area and you smell the chlorine. That's not a good smell. It's much worse inside in the pool area. Sure. Then the next thing that occurs is how it impacts the lifeguard staff. The staff is in there all the open hours, and it really wears on them. And if they have any weakness at all in their lungs, it's just not a good setting. And therefore, we have to figure out a way to help alleviate that situation in a cost-effective manner.
Sure. And then, of course, you know, we can also talk about the fact that aquatic venues, and water parks in particular, are designed to standards that are deemed to be, I think, a little insufficient because of the amount of spray in the air, right?
Yes. The essence of aquatic facilities goes back 50, 60, 70 years. And that was the indoor natatorium, the high school pool, the competition pool. And we evolved to indoor aquatic centers, the YMCAs, and a little bit more play features of the aquatic centers that we're seeing recently with activity pools and spray features.
Right.
This to the next level of the indoor water park with wave pools, surf machines. You're really aerating the water, which leads to evaporation and humidity.
And surf machines are a really big issue here, right? Yeah,
very much so.
Lots of spray. So fun, but lots of spray. So the conversation today is particularly timely with the pandemic that every single person around the globe is dealing with. The COVID-19 pandemic has taken the world, by the shoestrings, and we've all had to learn to adapt. And ironically, this feature of adding a retractable roof to a facility, exhausting all of that air and not using the mechanical system when the roof is open, actually is a very interesting solution to a problem, almost an accidental solution to a problem, whereby, there are studies saying that it's just simply safer to be outside, so and what we're talking about really are those large volumes of air that allow you to ventilate a space. Again, any kind of space, any kind of thematic space. But in particular, in this case, what we're talking about is water parks and, reducing the transmission of airborne viruses. Any thoughts on that, on the replacement of the mechanical ventilation system with a natural ventilation system?
Yes, this picture is really shows what can occur here. You can see that approximately 50% of the roof is open. It has a feeling of an outdoor water park as opposed to an indoor water park, and not visible because of the play structures that are at this facility are the open sidewalls. Whether it's doors, sliding glass doors, or tilt windows, the end result is what you're trying to do is bring the fresh air in naturally at the deck level, and that's where the majority of the people are, at the deck level where the need is and where the chloramines and the humidity hangs out.
Sure.
Let the fresh air come in through the sidewalls, flush that area out, and then naturally rise out through the roof through a chimney effect.
Right. And then I guess in addition to that, we're not showing it here, but at the top of any kind of a slide tower or anything like that, anywhere that traditionally air would rise to, if we can open the roof up there, there's some benefits there, right? So
yep.
Our next slide talks about the other, another big issue faced by specifically water parks. So if you're an indoor dry entertainment venue, you're probably not going to have this issue quite as much, but certainly in a water park, corrosion is a major factor. So I know that you get asked to go into water parks, existing water parks, do some assessments, and take a look around the space and sort of see what the issues are. Maybe you can talk to some of the issues that you find when you go to water parks and aquatic venues.
There's many, but today's focus is on the building structure.
Yeah.
With indoor water parks evolved in the mid to late 1990s. So there's been almost 25 years of watching the evolution of a water park. And that has just been a great opportunity to see the effect of the environment we're creating inside, the humidity, the chloramines, and that. And where the issues have come up is deterioration. Whether it's surface corrosion, which is an aesthetic issue, or surface corrosion when it's not maintained leads into a structural issue, or maybe it's even corrosion that is hidden because a vapor barrier was installed improperly and the humidity passes through the wall section and condensates where it's not observed, resulting in corrosion of the structure or the roof system, or there could be mold also that leads to it. And so you have numerous items that come up leading to either failure or maintenance issues and potentially health issues with the mold.
Seems to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, that in fact it's incorrect installation in most cases of vapor barriers or whatever that really is the brunt of a lot of these issues down the road for a traditionally constructed building. Is that a true statement? Or?
Yeah, yes, it is. But it also comes from the ability of the project team, starting from the operator or the owner, pulling the correct team together to the operator, but also with the design side. This should not be designed like an office building. Design it for what it's being used for, and that comes down to an experienced architectural team, design team, and engineers, and then on the construction side, having the experience on knowing how to install it properly, the vapor barrier properly.
Correct. Yeah. And then, of course, in addition to, certainly in the case of an aquatic venue, in addition to the sort of corrosion from the inside, depending on your location, you may experience corrosion from the outside, depending on where you're located. I picked this photo just because, it shows clearly a salty beachfront location, which happens to be on the ocean and beautiful. This one happens to be in San Diego, California. But in this case, the building suffers from the effects of both the external geography and climate, as well as the internal effects of the corrosion from the chloramines. So what we're talking about today is when you put on this retractable roof and bring in this big volume of air, building it out of aluminum. You get the large spans that you need for a water park or a ride or attraction of any kind. You need to be able to span column free up to a couple 100 feet. But then also, aluminum is a naturally non-corrosive material. So maybe you can talk a little bit about some experience that you've had in putting a retractable roof on a facility, but making it out of aluminum.
Yes. The spanning aspect is a great benefit. It's just a little bit cumbersome having the columns come up in the middle of the pool basins. But from the maintenance side, the aluminum structure comes pre-coated, and so you're not repainting it. It's non-corrosive, so you're not getting surface rust stains. Continuing it with the non-corrosiveness, it's not getting to evolving into a structural issue, meaning that if it did, you have to shut your park down.
Right.
Hopefully you can do it on a shoulder season, but the end result is potential lost revenue and the impact on your operation.
Right.
I love this next photo here because showing one of the most important aspects of an aquatic facility is the roof.
Yeah.
And with the humidity rising in the traditional constructed facility, there has been quite a few, more than a few instances where the roof structure has been damaged over time due to corrosion, and it's required replacement of a roof.
Right.
Flying over this, I had to thank the pilot as I exited the plane, because it was like, oh, wow, I know that project.
I know that project.
Yes. But it kind of drives home the point of how exposed. I mean, there's 60,000 square foot of roof structure, and you don't want to be replacing it.
No. And the other thing is just access, right? I mean, how do you replace the roof of a building, if it's over slides and a wave pool and all that fun stuff that's in a traditional water park or whatever. It's a complicated thing to do. So if you're having to do it every 7 to 10 years, as seems to be the norm, certainly in the water park field, boy, that's an expensive project, isn't it? So if you do have to do it, you only want to do it once, So.
Right. And then you'll look at it and say, man, is there a better way?
Right.
How's a different way of approaching this?
Sure. So that kind of brings us a little bit to our next issue that is faced by water parks, which really is energy savings. As we all know, building codes around the world generally, I'm summarizing, obviously, say use less energy. That's just the way that the world is evolving.
It's the right thing to do.
Exactly. And so when you open the roof, you do that. You, for all intents and purposes, you turn off your building, which is a different approach to construction. And so for somebody like yourself, what are the things you do need to do? So, you've turned off the building, you've turned off your mechanical system, but of course you still need to have a mechanical system. You still need to potentially heat it or whatever. So maybe you can talk a little bit about that. Specifically for water parks, it's not that you probably don't install air conditioning, because on the hot days you're going to open the roof. But other than that,
when the weather's nice, people want to be outside. But reflecting back to one of the earlier photos, the water park facility along the beach, water parks aren't always along the beach. We have them in the northern climates too. And therefore, we do have to have a robust mechanical system to handle all ranges of weather type. And with the aluminum retractable roof systems, roof structures, we've been able to design those facilities to work well, very well in all climates. But you still have to have the mechanical systems there, because there will be times that hey, it's 0 degrees. What are you going to do? But one of the things that's interesting about it is talking to the operators and the feedback from the operators and say how they learn their building. You know, as the weather changes, whether it's season to season or even over the course of the day in the morning, it's chilly in the morning, but the sun is coming out from the east and it's warming that side of the building versus later in the day when it gets much warmer. They're able to operate their roof system and open it a little bit further, open it fully, maybe start closing a little bit as the days goes on to essentially control the environment with it. And that's a lot less expensive to flip a switch on a few motors to open than to have air handling unit fan running throughout the day.
Right, right. And of course, another big savings that you will find is, of course, when you have a translucent or transparent, typically translucent at this scale, big skylight, and when it's open, certainly, you bring in an awful lot of daylight, and daylight has been proven to improve productivity. There's some very interesting studies about the direct correlation between retail revenue, the amount of money people spend when they're in a daylit space versus the amount of money that they spend if they're in, you know, a dark box with
Yes.
just, you know, electrical lighting. So,
and
and
it's
then
comfort level.
yeah, exactly, right, yeah,
If the patrons are guests are comfortable, they want to spend time there. They want to return.
sure,
Increase revenue generation that way.
sure,
This looks like an outdoor setting.
right.
It's beautiful. It was a beautiful day.
Which of course then, you know, in general, between, you know, quote unquote, turning your building off, turning your daylights off, you know, of course, emergency lighting stays on. But, you know, when you're only operating the equipment within the space as opposed to the building itself, you know, you're reducing your overall emissions. So there's some significant benefits there. And while these buildings, you know, have a little bit of the aesthetic of, you know, a big old greenhouse, they really do have the ability to contribute to energy codes and reduced energy emissions. So there's some nice benefits there. And so this is a nice picture that I like to show because I think, you know, what we're really talking about when we're talking about converting this building into a space that, you know, naturally vents itself, where all the daylights, you know, the lights are off, the fans are off. I mean, you can see in this photo, you know, it's the middle of the day, the place is busy, but everything is turned off. I think, you know, what we've talked about, and I think it's called the stack effect, is where you bring in, as you mentioned earlier, air in from the sides and it goes up and out of the roof, and you know the building really ventilates itself, right? Like that's the
Correct.
concept.
In this photo, yes, you see the ceiling fan up there, the large ceiling fan, to move great volumes of air. But that's just a belt and suspenders approach to make sure that the facility is comfortable at all times. What we're really working towards is when can we allow the facility to run naturally? And that is opening the doors and the windows in the rooftop for the outside air.
Sure. And you know what's interesting, and I think we've talked about this a couple times, is that it's surprising, I think, to owners and operators how much they open the roof. I think there's an expectation that you'd only use a building like this in a beautiful, hot, sunny climate on a beautiful, hot, sunny day, whereby, in fact, that might not be the case. Maybe you can talk a little bit about that, about how operators learn to use the building, but relative to the time of year and the climate.
Absolutely. It's I've been involved in projects where this structure has been installed in very northern climates at a ski resort. When it was winter there, it's not just winter, it's a hard winter.
It's winter.
and what an oasis this structure provides because of all the daylighting you get. But what was really interesting is that day I went out skiing and it was cold, and I was really glad to return to the water park, and I looked at the roof and it was cracked open, and I go, yeah, yeah, you can. There was enough solar gains
Right.
during the day. That it really, they opened the roof during the winter just to allow some fresh air to ventilate. The
Sure.
natural ventilation worked all seasons.
Right. Right. Because it's not all or nothing, right? You don't have to, this photo obviously shows it fully open, but you don't have to open it all the way. So, you know, what that does, all those three things that we've kind of talked about, those three major pain points for water parks and any kind of commercial venue, is cost, both cost savings and revenue opportunities. So I'll let you talk through the some of the cost savings element of this when you turn off your systems. So
Yep.
perhaps you can speak a little bit to the turning off the mechanical systems, which you have so wonderfully designed and put in there.
We have a team of people, and someone else in the office designed some mechanical, and I'm very happy they're there to do so.
Yeah.
But what I look at it and say about the mechanical system, I say, goodness gracious, does it have to be that big? I mean, the air handling units at indoor water parks are tractor trailer size units, or multiple trailer size units. Yes, they use a lot of energy. They use the energy with the fan motors. They use the energy with the pumps, usually use moving hot water or glycol system around. It all costs money to run it. And it's heat, it's gas, it's natural gas, it's electricity. Pull that back, try to get the building to operate naturally, learn your building. That's what the staff are able to do. And yes, they find savings throughout the year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, we've got lots of studies that show that actually the savings can be up to about 30%. It's a pretty big number, especially for a water park. And then, you know, the other side of that cost equation is the revenue opportunities that it creates. If you've got a facility, I'm sorry, that's my shaking dog. If you've got a facility that can be open year round, of course, you use the retail revenue opportunities. Oh, we've got something happening with our sound here.
Yep, you're back now.
If we have a space that is you know, healthy and fresh, and you don't feel, you know, like you're getting a cold every time you go, of course, you've got the repeat visitation factor. In addition to that, we can talk about if you add one of these retractable roofs, if you build out of aluminum and you build out of a type of product that is partially constructed in a warehouse. In other words, these trusses and these roof trusses are assembled and welded, et cetera, in a warehouse and then shipped to site and simply put together on site. They are not built on site. There are significant cost savings when it comes to the speed of construction. And I use this particular photo here because it's a very large enclosure and you can really obviously see the change over a 2-week period of, you know, how quickly this building goes into place. So of course, it's not something that you're not building a 62,000 square foot water park in 2 weeks. But I think that the point is that the speed of construction when you have pre-assembled pieces, even though they are custom designed for your environment, your geography, the speed of construction is very, very, very good and very fast. So, and then
one of the things with that is quality control.
Right.
The quality control that occurs in the fabrication, so then it can be delivered to the site without with limited, no, essentially, I've never seen any field modifications to the structure. So, maybe they hit it well. No, the end result is the quality of the product and the construction crew. It's a team.
Right. And then, of course, you know, we alluded to this a little bit earlier, but, you know, again, a year-round environment, a place that is open every day, no longer suffering from the effects of Mother Nature. Really, and any kind of a venue, whether it's a water park, an aquatic facility, or, you know, a theme park, a restaurant, a hotel, doesn't matter. You know, if you have to return money because somebody couldn't have their event, that's not a good thing. So nobody likes that. No operator in the world likes that.
Every day is a good day.
Exactly. And then I guess the last thing we just wanted to touch on was the marketability of a space like this. Being able to say that you are the first place with a retractable roof in your town, city, state, province, whatever it is something that you can market. And, I love this photo of this little guy in the ski resort you talked about earlier, walking off the ski slopes into this place, and this picture is from their marketing team. So this says it all, I think, right there.
We've all been there, or at least witnessed it. If we've gone skiing and seeing the family on the verge of a breakdown because it's cold or the snow's not good or something is disrupting it. And 20 minutes ago, we do not know what this child was thinking, but we know what this child is thinking now. and it's never a bad day.
Absolutely. And then the last thing just to touch on is this idea of being green. By virtue of adding a retractable roof, you have created a naturally, environmentally more efficient space, whether you choose to use that as your marketing tool or not, or simply to create an oasis in a place where that doesn't exist. This particular project is in Germany, and to my knowledge, there are no palm trees in Germany. So whether you're physically creating a green space or marketing it as an environmentally friendly, energy efficient space, obviously that's up to you and your project, but it's the ability to do that is a lovely experience, to create an oasis in a place where that might not exist, right?
And the green space here softened the room. Natatoriums and water parks are so loud. It's so just loud, the construction material that exists here and the water surface reflecting the sound, having trees grow naturally in there because the translucent panels allow it to do so. Right. It just is another benefit for this type of roof system.
Right. So then I thought we would just walk through a couple of the really big questions that we get all the time when we're talking about a retractable roof. If you are starting new, obviously, no brainer. If you're not, and you already have a project, you already have a theme park, a water park, any kind of an entertainment venue, can you add a retractable roof? So the short answer is yes, you can. The long answer is it's a little more complicated than that. We need to take a look at your facility. We need to look at your structure. We need to see if there's any repair that needs to be done to the existing structure. Maybe we need to add an additional new substructure. There's a whole bunch of questions totally dependent on your situation. But what I wanted to show here was this photo on the left and the right of a retractable roof that has been added to a water park in an existing older building. And literally the old roof was torn off and the existing glulam structure, which was in very good condition, was maintained. That's their existing structure. And a new retractable roof was simply added on top. So it can be done. It's not as simple as, yeah, absolutely, we can do it on every building, but it kind of is. This is the natural ventilation 101 is adding a retractable roof. So it can be done. So.
Yes, just bring the engineer in. We'll take a look at it.
Exactly.
And it was wonderful to see that this structure was sound. So the natural ventilating roof could be added.
And then the next question we get, of course, is related to those big blue slides that you see there. How does the retractable roof work with a slide package? So obviously, the slides are going to go in and out of the retractable space. Traditionally, what we do is we don't put a big retractable roof over the entire building at the same height as the cupola or as the water park. What we do is we build a cupola that is the taller section. So I've got a nice photo here that shows, and this is that same project, that the cupola is just built around the slide tower itself. So that is at the height that you need it, whatever the height of your tower is. Meanwhile, the rest of the park can be at a lower level. Not that you're air conditioning it, but certainly in the winter, you might be pumping a little bit of heat in. And if you are, you don't want a heat space you don't use, which is all that space over the middle of the, the lazy river and the slides and the wave pool and all that good stuff, right? So.
Yes, one of the best thing that I see about this picture is how it exemplifies of taking a negative and making it a positive. If you look at traditional building structures for indoor water parks, a lot of times the cupola is there, but it feels like you're climbing up a silo. They may put a window in there every now and then, but the end result is it's really a confined space.
Right.
With this structure, you've actually created a different venue. You can, you're visual looking around the region, but more, heck, I'm looking down in the water park trying to keep track of my kids.
Yeah.
I saw you over there, and this is looking down through the roof. So,
Right. Right.
take a negative and make it a positive.
Sure. So then the next question that we get is, if your building doesn't look like the all aluminum and glass structure, can you add a retractable roof to it? Can we design it in such a way that it aligns with the aesthetic of the architectural team, whomever is designing it? And so again, the answer is yes. So in this case, this happens to be in Moscow, and this building on the right-hand side here was designed for the Olympics. And so the aesthetic of the exterior of the building was required to be maintained. When they renovated this space and wanted to put in a water park and a gym and retail and restaurants and all that great stuff that they put in there, they wanted to make sure that the aesthetic of the building, at the grade level was the same, but then right on top is a very large retractable skylight. And when I say skylight, in this case, this thing is 165 feet wide and about 400 feet long. So that's a big skylight. But I'm going to show you another example of, again, a big skylight, I won't lie, but another example of a skylight being put onto probably a more traditional looking building. So this is your typical steel box, and the skylight in this case is about 70 by 150 or so. And so it is still, of course, a very big skylight, which gives you all the benefits of that natural ventilation, but is literally just dropped onto the top of the roof. So again, I'm oversimplifying. There's some structural engineers out there that might speak differently, but the reality is that you can, in fact, add a skylight to the top of the of any kind of a building.
Right. So you're getting the benefit that can be provided with an aluminum operable roof system, but on the traditional structural system, which there's reasons that they're needed or selected. Sure. But here you get the daylighting, you get the natural ventilation, you get the a sound attenuation, all the benefits on it by just putting just a simple 72 by 150 foot. Rather large, but even a smaller one, those benefits really exist.
Right. And then the last question that we get, and again, this is just to reference all of the images that most people have been looking at here, is what are they made of? Obviously, we've talked about the aluminum bit, but what is the rest of it? So, traditionally people call us and ask about our glass skylights. And in fact, except if it's a restaurant, they're actually not glass. Most of the projects that you see are made with a product called polycarbonate. Polycarbonate is a corrugated thick plastic, and is, relatively speaking, an inexpensive solution to a large format roof. Traditionally, anything that is vertical is glass, regular glass, a low-E glass, but the roof itself is very often made of this polycarbonate material. The alternative product that is also very, very popular is a product called ETFE. ETFE is a sheet-like material which is put into a frame, and air is blown into between the several layers of sheets, whether it's 2, 3, 4 multi-wall sort of thickness, and it creates what's called a pillow effect. So I've got a couple photos here showing. Both of these are retractable, both of these open, all the good things that we've just talked about in the aluminum frame, but the one on the left is the polycarbonate roof, and the one on the right, and I picked a nighttime shot just to sort of, because during the day people think all the photos are glass, but so that's the polycarbonate roof, and then the photo on the right is the ETFE roof. And
one thing to understand about these systems is they're lightweight, and it's the air that's providing the insulating factor. And with even in the northern climates, I've seen snow, not a lot of snow buildup, but snow buildup, which shows that the insulation factor is working, which is beneficial, again, on the energy saving side.
Right, right. So I think that basically sums up our discussion today. We've talked about sort of the four big issues that really face any water park or any entertainment venue, to be perfectly honest. But air quality, corrosion, energy savings, and the big one, costs, whether it's cost savings or revenue opportunities, all of which are alleviated with an aluminum retractable roof. And of course, as we talked a little bit about today, we've got this extra added bonus of helping to deal with the COVID-19 pandemic, which is affecting every venue across the world. So thank you, Daryl, for joining me today. I really appreciate your time and expertise. And so wanted to say to everybody, thank you for joining us. If you would like to reach out to myself and or Daryl with regards to any project that you might be working on, whether it's a new project or adding this to an existing project. Again, my name is Nancy Patterson. I am the Director of Design and Business Development from OpenAire.
And my name is Daryl Matzke with Ramaker and Associates, aquatic engineering and architectural firm. It's been a pleasure, Nancy. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.